Hi, it's Teacher Marky, and welcome to another video. Today's short lecture is something that most of us are very familiar with, and that's the reading and writing connection. Let's get started. Before we begin today's lecture, I want you to check out the images on your screen. Now, think thoughtfully and answer these questions. Which one are you? Do you like and enjoy writing? Or maybe not as much as others do? Or do you find reading fun and exciting? Or would you rather do something else that's more fun, like playing video games or talking to your friends? Or maybe you're one of those lucky ones who love both. Well, let me know your thoughts on the comment section below. Reading and writing go together like pieces of a puzzle that perfectly fit, such that when you learn how to write, you most likely learn how to read, or vice versa. It's that simple. This lecture will cover 3 things. We're going to define reading and writing. We're also going to touch on why people read and write. And we're going to review the different genres of reading and writing. And as you go along with this video, you might find that most of the theories and concepts presented here are self-explanatory and have been discussed during the earlier years in high school. But it won't hurt if you refresh your memory once in a while. First off, what is reading? As defined by education experts, reading is a multifaceted process involving word recognition, comprehension, fluency, and motivation. When we say multifaceted, it means that reading is a diverse process. So, my reading experience could be different from yours. This is why there are some people who are more fluent readers and who could easily understand what they're reading or what they have read, and there are those who struggle with comprehension. Now, let's look at the definition of writing. Writing is a system of graphic symbols that can be used to convey meaning. As we know, there isn't a standard way of writing across all cultures. This is because people assign certain meanings to graphic symbols differently. Think of how different the English alphabet and the Arabic characters are. Now that we have briefly defined reading and writing, let's find out some of the reasons why people read. We read to develop a broad background. Reading lets people know more about certain topics they are curious about. If you want to learn how a particular system functions, or how a certain mechanism works, reading is the best way to do it. We read to create motivation and interest. Reading motivates people to pursue certain personal or professional endeavors. Like me, for example, when I feel down, bored, or demotivated, I just read motivational articles or pick up a nice book to uplift my mood. Doing so gives me a different perspective on how I view things. We read to build good vocabulary. When we read, we pick up unfamiliar words, phrases, and expressions that we can add in our vocabulary bank. If you want to learn useful idiomatic expressions, go pick up a book or read online articles. It works like magic. We read to be entertained. Personally, this is the reason why I read, most of the time. If I want to laugh, cry, or be taken into a different world with imaginary characters with superpowers, I just read. I'm telling you, it's a wonderful feeling. Now, let's find out some of the reasons why people write. which are plenty by the way. But I only picked 4 which I think are the most common. We write to express. When we write, we are able to express our thoughts, feelings, and aspirations. Sometimes, when we're not able to talk to someone about what we feel, writing helps us let it all out. We can write poetry, essays, and other forms of expressive writing. We write to inform. Writing to inform helps us be aware of truthful information supported by facts and evidence. A good example would be journalism. A journalist uncovers the facts about some incident and then reports those facts as objectively as possible to the readers. Of course, some bias or point of view is always present, but the purpose is to convey information as accurately and as objectively as possible. Other examples of writing to inform include laboratory reports, business reports, and other types of reports. We write to explain. Writing to explain is to tell who, what, when, where, why, and how about a topic. Explaining the who's, what's, how's, why's, etc. requires that the writer analyze the subject, divide it into its important parts, and show the relationships of those parts. Thus, writing to explain relies heavily on definition, process analysis, cause and effect, analysis, and synthesis. We write to persuade. Writing to persuade states an opinion or a goal and supports it with facts, reasons, and details in order to get the audience to agree, take action, or do both. Advertisements are a good example of persuasive writing. They usually do not fairly represent the competing product, and they often appeal to image, to emotion, to character, or to anything except logic and facts, unless those facts are in the product's favor, of course. Now that I have shared with you some of the reasons why we read and write, let's talk about the different genres of reading and writing. When we say genre, it simply means type or kind. And reading and writing has 2: informational texts and literary texts. Informational texts are nonfiction, and their primary purpose is to inform us about the natural and the social world. These texts are what we commonly use at school when studying. On the other hand, literary texts are pieces of written materials such as books or poems with the purpose of telling a story or entertaining. And they're mostly fictional. These are some examples of informational texts. We have the encyclopedia, newspaper, magazine, textbooks, and many more. I'm not going to explain them one by one because I know that we are all familiar or have used them at some point in the past, but I still included their definitions, so you may pause this video and read them according to your liking. Moving on to the types of literary texts, we have drama, fable, fairy tale, historical fiction, realistic fiction, science fiction, legend, biography, autobiography, etc., etc. Now, I want you to take a moment to ponder upon this quotation from Benjamin Franklin. Either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. Well, according to figures and statistics, reading and understanding an article or a book and writing a composition, especially in English, could be challenging for some students in the Philippines. But hey, it happens to the best of us. In fact, when I was a student, I disliked both. I didn't really hate them, but I also didn't get excited by them. And then later on in life, I realized that reading and writing are fundamental. So, I highly encourage you to start reading books and articles in line with your interests, or maybe write your random thoughts and feelings. Believe me when I say, it's worth it.